Kintsugi is the art of repairing broken pottery with gold and celebrating the broken places. The point is to embrace the imperfect and to make the best of what you're experiencing now, rather than dwelling on how things might have been better. Perhaps you felt utterly broken and unable to see how you could carry on. Imagine if you were able to accept and feel compassion for your brokenness, rather than perceiving yourself as worthless. Our imperfections become part of our uniqueness, beauty, and value. The work and care we use in repairing becomes resilience.
Sometimes I feel like a motherless child, a long way from home. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child, a long way from home. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child, a long way from home. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child, a long way from home. Sometimes I feel like a morning dove, a long way from home. Sometimes I feel like a morning dove, a long way from home. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child, a long way from home. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child, a long way from home.
Hey, did you hear about Hannah?
Oh my word, I did. I just couldn't believe my ears.
I heard that too.
That was terrible, that was.
I was in a controlling relationship with my eldest daughter's dad. I was never allowed my own money or to see my family and friends. He always had an excuse, so he'd have stuff to do during the day, and then at the end of the day it'd be too late and I couldn't go and see my friends and family. All my money went on rent and bills, so there was never any money to do food shopping. It was always takeout. There might have been a loaf and some butter to make, some toast, but never anything to make a proper meal. He wanted to control it all. Any money that was meant to go into the house from his side never did. He just wanted to control it. And if I wanted to go anywhere, he'd act in a certain way. He'd make me feel threatened if I wanted to go anywhere. He was charming in the beginning. He'd look after me and take me for meals. I do believe I was groomed. So I was only 17, he was 27. Then there was the physical abuse, which was always followed by him on his hands and knees begging, "I'm so sorry, it'll never happen again." And then lo and behold, a couple of weeks, sometimes a couple of days, he'd do it again. There was this one time, I remember I'd rung my sister and asked her to take me to the infirmary because my big toenail had been ripped off. I'd been trying to lock myself in the bedroom as he was kicking the door in. My toe got stuck underneath and it ripped the toenail off. If I'd shown my sister the rest of me. Because I was battered and bruised. From being thrown over here, thrown over there, ripped over here, ripped over there. I tried ringing the police, but the phone was ripped out my hand, ripped out the wall and thrown across the room. Afterwards I went to my neighbour and I said, "Look, I can't always ring the police, so if ever you hear anything, please will you ring the police?" And she did, every single time. It wasn't easy opening up to my neighbour, but I had to. It was self-preservation. I wish I'd shown my sister what he'd done to the rest of me. But I couldn't. So I didn't. I used to always say to me mum, oh, can you have the kids? I've got an headache, I'm not feeling well, I've got this, I've got that. But it's because I was covered in bruises. I don't think they know that, even to this day. Get really good at hiding it. Because emotionally, you can't just flip your brain open and show what's in there. But that's where most of the effect was. You can't show mental abuse. It's really difficult to describe. But I had 3 breakdowns. I just completely shut down.
Why did you leave him?
Because regardless of what anybody thinks, you love them. Oh, and your heart just melts from when they beg you back. I was so in love. And I thought, I can change him, I will change him, it will stop, it will get better. But it just got worse and worse. I think you refrain from telling people because you're ashamed as well. When I tried to end it, I was stalked. He stalked me all over town. He tried taking my little girl. So I took him back and gave him another chance. On this particular day, I'd arranged to go for lunch with my sister. She was treating me. So we were going into Bury for a Chinese. When she came to pick me up, I got in the car, I panicked, realised I'd left my phone inside. So panicking, I ran back in. I didn't know this at the time, but he'd seen some messages on my phone from somebody I'd been seeing behind his back. Now, obviously, he's not going to be happy about it. And, you know, I can't blame him for not liking it. And just doesn't make any excuses, but, well, life with him was hell on earth. When I got inside, I saw that he had a hammer. A hammer? And he was smashing it on the floor. I said, what are you doing? What are you doing? He said, I've seen them messages. If you don't get out, you'll be getting this too. And because I knew what he was capable of, I was terrified. So I flew upstairs, I got the kids, ran out the house, just said to my sister, he's in a mood, we'll just have to go to Bury and pretend nothing was happening. When I finally got the courage to go back home, I saw that our front room had been completely trashed. All of my stuff had trashed, none of his stuff, just mine. And the kids had witnessed it. So I said to my lad, who was just 10 at the time, to take his sister to my mum's because he wasn't there. And I reported it to the police. They said, don't touch anything, and they came out to take photographs of everything. And while the police were still there, he came back. Well, because of my reaction, they wouldn't let him in the front room, because I was terrified of him. I knew he would have come back to the house, and he would have leathered me. The thing is, if the police hadn't been there, how far would it have gone? If he'd have come back with that hammer, how far would it have gone? That's it. That's what I believed he was going to do. So he comes in, he sits on the stairs, starts untying his shoes, taking his laces out because they're taking him to the police car to arrest him. He got bailed to someone else's address. That's when I was able to end the relationship. You see, he was a drug dealer. And I knew that if they put any conditions on him, he wouldn't want to break them because he wouldn't want to get caught for that as well. I wasn't aware of all the red flags, all the little looks and silences when you haven't reached their expectations. But I was 17, I didn't know the red flags. I wish at 17 I'd known more about domestic abuse. I believe they should fetch awareness into schools because it's not just older people. No, it starts when you're younger. When I was younger, my mum and dad fought, yeah, but I didn't know about coercive control. I didn't know that that was a form of domestic abuse. I wish I had. Because if I'd known, I never would have carried on with the relationship. I would have ended it at the start. Then there was the physical abuse. I want to say that once the police and social services became involved, my kids were classed as children in need. And they started proceedings to take my kids away from me. And that's when I thought, I'm not safeguarding them. You don't think you have to safeguard them from their own father, whether the abuse is mainly on you. But they're witnessing it and they're seeing it. I wasn't safeguarding them from that. That's when I put my foot down. I said, no more. No more. Took him to court. Tell the courts everything. Because you have to protect yourself and your children. I'm still here. I'm still living. I'm still breathing. Some women don't get that chance. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child, a long way from home. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child, a long way from home.
It started on the wedding day itself. What usually happens is the girl's family pay for the wedding, make the arrangements, and set the schedule. My dad wanted to involve the groom's family and asked them if you can arrive earlier at the venue, it will be best all round. Both families will be there, we can chat before, and then when the guests come, we can do the vows with the imam. I was waiting in the bridal room. My sister was busy with my mum, helping her, tending to the guests. We had guests coming from London, Birmingham, Scotland, everywhere. My dad and brothers were looking after his friends, the whole town. I didn't use my phone that day, so I wasn't in contact with my future husband. I wanted to keep myself grounded. I was completely unaware of what was going on outside of the room. They arrived 2 hours late. My dad had been ringing the whole family, trying to find out where they were. No one answered. This is 16 adults and not one answered. It was so embarrassing. The guests had to be fed early because it was a Tuesday, a work day. My dad said, "You know what our people are like? They work in takeouts. So a lot of the guests had to be fed before 2 p.m. and it was already 2 p.m. But what we didn't know is that his family had fed his guests already. They were doing it on purpose. They wanted my dad to treat the groom like royalty. They didn't apologise to my dad. But my uncle apologised to the groom, to the whole family. When his sisters came to my bridal room, they didn't like the way my scarf was arranged. They didn't like my short sleeve dress. They didn't like my headdress, how it was arranged. I was so annoyed. I thought, this is the way I am. After the ceremony, when we were leaving the hall, his family didn't speak to my dad. The men did a bit of pushing and shoving of him. There was plenty of food left. Usually the girl's family pack it in big containers and send it to the groom's house. That was done and it was put in the back of our car. His family got it out of the car and put it on the pavement and said, "We're not taking that." I said to him, "I can't believe that your family are doing this." He replied very sweetly, "It's not my family, it's your family. But let's not talk about it now. Let's just get back." When we got to Birmingham, there was a lot of tension. I remember his sisters were saying to me, "Don't worry, your family have disowned you. We're your family now." My family hadn't disowned me. They already wanted to isolate me. It was really weird. Talking about it now, I can feel those feelings coming back. In my gut, I was feeling, this isn't how it should be. We were staying in his brother's very small house and it was a box room that I was put in. I was in there alone. When my sister-in-law came to me, she said, "Oh, I don't know if anyone gave you the talk about tonight. Tonight's the night. And whatever he wants, he gets, as he is your husband. You're going to have to touch his feet when he comes to the room because he is above you. And say salam. Whatever he wants, you have to give him." It was terrifying knowing that his whole family was in that house. There were 30 people who were sleeping in the living room floor. And I thought, if I want to go downstairs, if I try to run away from him, I can't. They were all there sleeping in one room. I had nowhere to run. I felt locked in, trapped. It was my first time. I believe in sex after marriage. The only thing I knew about sex is what I've seen on TV, all romanticised, and it wasn't like that at all. It was painful and smelly. He believed in porn, aggressive, forceful, and a lot of pressure on you. He liked things like that. In Islam, you're not allowed certain positions, and when he wanted to do this, I would say to him, "This is not allowed. I don't want to do this." But he wouldn't listen. He would make comments about my body. "You're not flexible. You're not a good wife." I didn't consent to a lot of it and I was in pain. He said, "It's you. You're not flexible." And I agreed with him as I was in so much pain. He made me believe that it was my fault. He made me go down on him a lot of times, and I didn't want to do that. He wanted me to swallow it. It made my mouth sore and my throat hurt. I couldn't speak for a few days. It was all about him. I didn't consent to them. One night, I called the police out. The officer asked me if I had been raped, and I said no, because I didn't know it was rape. I thought this was normal in a marriage. If the police had asked me certain types of questions that were about me being valued as a victim, I know that I would have responded differently. Women need to know that you can say no, and this crosses all cultures. You are not bad if you are not giving consent. People think it's a partner or a husband, then it's not rape, that they have a duty to them. I thought this was normal in a marriage. But all women need to know that if you don't give your consent, then it's rape. Just because someone is your partner, they can't rape you. After I fled, I went to the refuge and they asked me for my statement, and I felt like I could open up to them. And there I told them, he forced himself on me. He did lots of things with my clothes. He wanted to play out fantasies. I told him no, but he still did it. One of his fantasies was rape, actual rape. And I said no, and he made me do it. I had no control over my body. He had me pinned down. It was at the refuge when I found out I was raped. A year down the line, and I was watching morning television, and I saw something about recording events of historical domestic abuse. So I got in touch with Women Against Rape. They told me about the process, what it is. From there, I spoke to the police, and I came to the conclusion that I want to press charges. The criminal proceedings have now been going on since 2019, and although it is about aspects of all the other abuse, it is mainly about rape. It's 4 years since it began. It is a long process, and unfortunately, a lot of women can't maintain the mental and emotional strain. Just they don't understand that in the long run it will be better for them. It is very hard. But my message is, don't give up. Make sure you have an advocate. I have a sexual abuse advocate, Manchester Rape Crisis, who give the support and confidence I need to keep on with this. They taught me a way of communicating with the police, who said to me, "Why do you want to do this? Do you want him to spend his life in prison?" To which I replied, the reason that I want to do this is because he's done this to me, he's done this to another girl, and he's probably done this to other women. I just want justice. I want him to know that he cannot behave in this way with other women. And importantly, I want my son to know when he is older, if he does find out, this is not what you do to women. My story is not about just one culture, one religion. Abusers abuse in exactly the same way, using the same tactics, regardless of which part of society they are from.
Has anyone here been to the Lake District? It's wonderful. So full of trees and the water is beautiful. I visited there once. It reminded me of my village in Pakistan. In my village, I had my dreams of being well-educated, having my own car, own house, high study. It was my secret dream, instilled in my heart. I was brought to the UK for an arranged marriage. It was my auntie who came forward and asked for this proposal, so I was happy in my mind that it was the right thing to do. I thought that when I come here, I can go to college and can learn. It didn't feel like a wedding to me. It felt like freedom. Even though I arrived here not knowing the language and everything and everyone around me was alien, I was filled with the hope that I was going towards my dream. Unfortunately, the wedding did not last. He went off with an English girl and here I was, alone, shamed, divorced. I felt that I had no choice, and so I entered into a second arranged marriage. And it didn't take me long to realize that this wedding was the opposite of freedom. It was incarceration. I couldn't breathe. I literally couldn't breathe. I went to the doctor and he tested me and he said that it was anxiety and stress. I had to use an inhaler so I could breathe. I remembered my village was trees and fresh water. In the summertime, the water would come right near to my house, so clear, the water so clear, with all the boats around. On that night, when the policeman came, he said, "Do you want to go to court? Otherwise, he's never going to leave you alone, he's going to come back." And I asked, "Do I need to go to court?" And he said, "No, not really, maybe, but if he admits to what he has done, then you won't need to go." But he didn't admit it. He said that he didn't do anything. And so I had to go, and at that time, I didn't understand any of it, and it just made me cry and cry and cry. His solicitor wanted to put all the blame on me. It was hard. I didn't do anything. I didn't know the system. It felt like I was an alien. I didn't understand the meaning of the legal words that were being used, and the hearings would drag on, and the pressure is enormous. When all of this is going on, it's impossible to get on with your life. It's another form of control. And when I'm at court, his solicitor asks me questions. She twists my answers and asks me, "Do you believe in Islam?" And I said, "Yes." "Why are you saying that?" One question she asked me 5 times, 6 times. "You open the door and you're saying that he's banging the door. Why did you open it?" But always when he comes, he knocks on the door, he knocks on the windows. I'm so ashamed. I let him in because I was scared and wanted him to calm down. If you see my house, still the windows, the cracks are there, and the letterbox is still broken, and all the walls he's punched with the children in the house. Always when this happens, the children are in the house. I told my solicitor that the kids are with me all the time. But then his solicitor questioned me about my claims that he was being violent in the car, and the kids were there. They saw what happened. He was abusing me and kicking the door in. But his solicitor never mentioned the kids being in the car and said, "It's only a tiny little scratch on the paintwork." And when she said this, I could hear his family saying in my mind, "He's only a fool. He's only a little bit angry, but he is a really useful guy." And so for me, they were all the same as her. I thought, what's the point of coming here? Everyone was saying that I was wrong and he was right. My solicitor didn't speak when his solicitor was questioning me. They didn't stand up for me. But I've come to realize that the roles that they're playing are their jobs. They're going through the process. My problem was I didn't understand the process. I wasn't told what each hearing was about, given any information or help, and the main obstacle in my situation was the language barrier. Sometimes solicitors just make decisions for the women. Sometimes, "Oh, you're a victim. You're so fragile, so you don't need to attend." But actually, the women should attend, and there are ways around it, like special measures. I didn't know that I wasn't given a separate entrance and exit from my perpetrator. You are allowed this, but I didn't know that. I didn't know how to ask for it. I couldn't speak up for myself. During my call with my solicitor, my interpreter didn't translate properly what I was saying to my solicitor, or what the professionals were saying to me wasn't translated word for word. But I was too scared to say to the judge, "I don't understand my translator. They aren't translating properly for me." I now know that if this happens, the judge will stop the hearing and get another interpreter. The judge is on your side. Women need to be in court, as then their barrister will say what they want them to say, even if they don't agree with it. A lot of women don't know this. I know now that my perpetrator was just worried about his visa. I have a full British citizenship. He doesn't. Before we fixed this marriage, he said that he had a study visa, but he didn't have a study visa. He didn't even show me his passport or anything. He wouldn't even tell me his real name. From day one, it was just a lot of lies, but the criminal court only talked about this one day, the day I had pressed charges for. And when I was at court and he was sitting in front of the judge, I could hear him say in his own language, "And now I'm going to show her. Aur ab main usko dikhata hu. Now I'm going to show her. Aur ab main usko dikhata hu." And when I showed the video to the court, he had filmed me in my night dress with acne on my face to show to my children, to ridicule me, saying, "Look how ugly your mother is." I could hear him say, "Oh, she's gone too far now. Ab to isne had par kar di hai." None of this was translated for the judge. And while all of these hearings are going on, I live in fear. Fear of more violence, fear of him snatching my kids off of the streets and taking them back to Pakistan, of him arranging marriages for my daughters. He still keeps coming round to my house with his brother and threatening me. Clear blue water came right near to my house in the summer, and in the winter it went away.
Roll your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream.